Have you ever sat across the dinner table from your spouse, the TV humming softly in the background, and felt like something was missing, something you couldn't quite name? Maybe the conversations have grown shorter, the laughter less frequent, and the warmth you once shared now feels like a distant memory. If so, you're not alone. Many women, especially those in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, find themselves wrestling with a quiet but persistent sense of frustration toward their husbands. Not because of one dramatic event, but because of a slow shift that's taken place over decades. What started as a loving partnership has gradually become something that feels more like a routine, or worse, a burden. In American culture, we often celebrate long marriages as a badge of honor, and while there's truth to that, what's rarely talked about is how difficult those later years can be for many women. The emotional labor, the unspoken sacrifices, the subtle erosion of connection. These aren't things we see in anniversary cards or old photo albums, but they're real. This isn't about blame, it's about understanding. It's about recognizing the silent struggles that build up over time, and more importantly, exploring how to bring light back into a relationship that's gone dim. In the following sections, we'll uncover 7 powerful reasons why women may grow resentful toward their husbands as they age, and offer practical, compassionate ways to bridge the emotional gap. Whether you've been married for 30, 40, or even 50 years, it's never too late to reconnect, feel seen, and be appreciated for everything you've given. Because the truth is, you deserve that. You always have. 1. Years of emotional labor without recognition. For many women, the foundation of marriage has been built not just on love, but on effort. Years of quiet, consistent emotional labor that too often goes unnoticed. It's the kind of work that doesn't show up on pay stubs or calendars, but it's just as exhausting as any job. It's remembering everyone's birthdays, coordinating doctor's appointments, keeping peace during family tensions, organizing Thanksgiving dinners, sending holiday cards, and making sure the grandkids have their favorite snacks when they visit. And all the while, doing it without expecting a medal, just maybe a sincere thank you. But for a lot of women, that thank you never came. Many husbands believed that bringing home a paycheck or handling repairs around the house was their main contribution. And in fairness, those efforts matter. But emotional labor? That's the glue that keeps a home feeling like home. And when one person is responsible for 90% of that glue for 30 or 40 years without appreciation, it starts to wear them down. Take a woman like Carol, 72, from Des Moines. She spent decades working as a school teacher while raising 3 kids, managing the household, and making sure every holiday felt magical. Now retired, she looks back and realizes no one ever asked her how she managed it all. Her husband never said, "I see how much you do." Over time, that absence of recognition turned into quiet resentment. The truth is, emotional labor is invisible until it's not. Until the woman carrying it reaches a point where she feels more like a caretaker than a wife. And when that happens, it's not because she stopped loving her husband. It's because she stopped feeling seen. If this sounds familiar, know this: your feelings are valid. Being emotionally tired doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And every woman deserves to feel valued, not just for what she does, but for who she is. 2. Feeling like roommates instead of a married couple. Somewhere along the way, the spark that once brought 2 people together can quietly fade into routine. What used to be a romantic partnership can start to feel like 2 people simply sharing a house, running errands, and dividing responsibilities, more like roommates than spouses. In the early years of marriage, there were likely late-night conversations, weekend getaways, and playful touches in the kitchen while cooking dinner together. There was interest, connection, and intimacy, but over time, for many couples, those little gestures of love are replaced with practical talk about bills, medications, or who's going to pick up milk from the store. For women in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, this shift can feel especially painful. The house might be quieter now, no kids, fewer outside responsibilities, And what remains is the realization that the emotional connection has thinned. They sit at the same table, sleep in the same bed, but feel miles apart. Take Linda, a 69-year-old retired nurse from Michigan. She and her husband once shared dreams, traveled together, and made each other laugh. But now most of their conversations revolve around health appointments or what's on TV. He doesn't ask how her day was, he doesn't notice when she wears something new, and when she tries to talk about something meaningful, he barely looks up from his phone. She doesn't feel cherished anymore, she feels invisible. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It creeps in slowly. And many women try to fix it. They ask for more quality time, suggest doing things together, or express their longing for affection. But when those requests are brushed aside, ignored, or dismissed, eventually they stop asking altogether. That's when resentment begins to grow, not out of anger, but out of sadness, a deep, aching loneliness that comes from being next to someone every day and still feeling alone. If you've felt this shift, know that you're not alone and you're not wrong for missing the closeness you once had. Every woman deserves to feel like a partner, not just a presence in someone else's routine. 3. Unresolved conflicts that build up over the years. Not every marriage is shaken by big, explosive arguments. In fact, the most damaging wounds often come from the small things, moments of feeling unheard, unimportant, or dismissed. And when those moments stack up year after year, they quietly turn into something much heavier: resentment. Every couple argues. That's normal, but the key difference is whether those disagreements are actually resolved or simply swept under the rug. For many women, it's the latter. They let things go to keep the peace, to avoid conflict, or because they believe it's not worth the fight. But each unresolved issue leaves a tiny crack in the relationship. Over time, those cracks widen. Think of Patricia, a 74-year-old retired accountant from Oregon. She remembers every time her husband brushed off her concerns, forgot an anniversary, or made a joke at her expense in front of friends. She never yelled or made a scene. Instead, she held it all in, hoping he'd realize on his own. He never did. Now, decades later, those moments have hardened into a wall she can't seem to tear down. What makes this pattern so painful is that many men don't even realize it's happening. They think, if she's not bringing it up, it must be fine. But silence is not the same as peace. Often, it's a sign that she's given up on being heard. And here's the truth. When a woman feels like her feelings have been repeatedly minimized or ignored, it changes how she sees her husband. He's no longer her safe place. He becomes someone she walks on eggshells around, or worse, someone she emotionally distances herself from altogether. It's not about holding grudges. It's about never getting closure. And without honest conversations, true apologies, or efforts to change, those old wounds stay open. If you've been carrying the weight of old hurt, know that your emotions are real and they matter. Healing starts with acknowledgement, even if the person who caused the pain never fully understood what they did. 4. A shift in priorities, but her husband doesn't grow with her. As we grow older, our needs and priorities naturally evolve. What once felt meaningful, raising children, managing a household, supporting a partner's career, can begin to feel like a completed chapter. For many women, retirement or an empty nest marks the start of a new season of self-discovery. They want more time for personal growth, travel, friendships, or simply enjoying life on their own terms. But what happens when their husbands don't evolve with them? Many women find themselves craving new experiences, only to be met with indifference from their spouses. It's not that they expect their husbands to suddenly become adventurers or philosophers, but they do hope for a partner who's at least willing to explore the journey with them. When that doesn't happen, the gap between them grows wider. Take Helen, a 68-year-old retired librarian from North Carolina. After spending her adult life devoted to her family, she finally had the freedom to pursue interests she'd set aside for decades. She wanted to join a local writing group, volunteer, maybe even plan a trip to Maine in the fall. But her husband, he was content watching reruns on TV, sticking to the same breakfast, the same chair, the same daily routine. Every time she brought up something new, he'd reply, "Why do we need to do all that now?" That kind of response cuts deeper than it may seem. It's not just a disagreement about how to spend time. It's a signal that her growth no longer matters to him. And when a woman starts to feel like her desire to keep evolving is being stifled, it can lead to frustration and eventually resentment. The truth is, aging shouldn't mean settling into sameness. It can be a time of renewal, but when one partner grows and the other stays stagnant, the distance between them becomes more than emotional. It becomes a barrier to joy. If you've felt this disconnect, you're not alone. Your dreams don't expire just because you've reached a certain age. You still deserve a life that excites you and a partner who's willing to grow beside you. 5. Lack of emotional and physical affection. One of the quietest heartbreaks in a long marriage is the loss of affection, not just physical but emotional too. As the years go by, many women notice that the small gestures of love that once made them feel special begin to fade. The spontaneous hugs, the soft kisses on the forehead, the hand-holding during a walk, all replaced by silence, distance, or polite cohabitation. It's not that love disappears overnight, it's that affection slowly becomes absent, and for many women that absence leaves a hollow ache. Because no matter your age, the need to feel loved and desired never truly goes away. Consider Sharon, a 71-year-old retired secretary from Arizona. She remembers when her husband used to call her beautiful just because. He'd reach for her hand in the grocery store or rub her shoulders after a long day. But now, years later, he barely touches her. When she brought it up once, he laughed gently and said, "Aren't we a little old for all that now?" But the truth is, you're never too old for affection. For many women, it's not just about romance, it's about connection. A lack of physical touch often mirrors a deeper emotional disconnect. It's about feeling invisible in your own home, about being looked at but not really seen. And when those feelings go unacknowledged for too long, they build into quiet resentment. What makes this even harder is that many women try to fix it. They express their longing for intimacy, ask for more closeness, or try to rekindle what once was. But when those efforts are ignored or brushed aside, they eventually stop trying. Not because the need is gone, but because the hope is. If you've ever felt this emptiness, the kind that lingers even when someone's sitting right next to you, know that you're not alone. Your need for touch, for tenderness, for emotional warmth is not something to be ashamed of. It's part of what makes you human, and it's something you still deserve. 6. Feeling taken for granted. There's a unique kind of pain that comes not from being ignored entirely, but from being expected to cook, clean, remember, support, and hold everything together, all without acknowledgement. Over the years, what began as acts of love can slowly start to feel like obligations, and when gratitude fades, resentment quietly takes its place. In the early days of a relationship, a husband might say thank you for a home-cooked meal or notice the way his wife makes the holidays special. But over time, those words often stop. The appreciation disappears, and the assumption settles in that she'll always be the one to handle the details, keep things running smoothly, and show up emotionally. Take Nancy, a 72-year-old retired school principal from Ohio. For decades, she planned birthday parties, made her husband's favorite meals, kept their calendar organized, and made sure everyone in the family felt cared for. But as the years passed, she realized something had changed. He stopped noticing. No more compliments, no thank yous, not even a glance of acknowledgement. It was as if her efforts had become background noise. And that's what hurts the most. Not that she gave, but that it stopped mattering. When a woman is consistently taken for granted, she begins to feel invisible. Not because she wants praise every time she does something, but because she wants to feel valued. When appreciation disappears, love can start to feel one-sided. What many men don't realize is that it doesn't take grand gestures to make a woman feel seen. A simple, heartfelt, "I appreciate you," a warm hug after dinner, or an unexpected note of gratitude can make all the difference. If you've ever found yourself wondering whether your efforts even matter anymore, please know this: they do. You matter. What you've given year after year is worthy of thanks, of recognition, and of love in return. Because love without appreciation eventually begins to feel like duty, and no one wants to feel like just another task on someone else's list. 7. Realizing they've grown apart. One of the most painful realizations in a long marriage isn't tied to a fight or betrayal. It's waking up one day and feeling like you no longer recognize the person beside you. You share a home, a history, maybe even a few quiet routines. But the emotional connection that once held you close has quietly faded. Growing apart doesn't happen in a single moment. It unfolds slowly, over years of missed conversations, neglected dreams, and emotional distance. At some point, you stop sharing your thoughts because he no longer asks. You stop talking about your hopes because he doesn't seem to listen, and eventually you find yourself living parallel lives, together, but not really with each other. Take Margaret, a 74-year-old retired social worker from Colorado. She and her husband used to stay up late talking about life, what they wanted, what they feared, what made them laugh. Now, their conversations revolve around doctor appointments and what's on sale at the grocery store. Whenever she brings up something personal, he nods but doesn't really engage. Over time, she's stopped trying. The hardest part? He doesn't even notice. Many women feel this slow unraveling deep in their hearts. It's not about blame, it's about longing for a partner who still sees them, who's curious about who they've become over the years. Because we don't stop evolving at 60, 70, or 80. Our interests shift, our desires deepen, and our perspectives change. When a partner doesn't grow alongside you or refuses to try, that emotional divide feels insurmountable. What makes this kind of disconnection so painful is its quietness. There's no shouting, no dramatic exit, just a steady drift apart until one day you realize you're more alone with your spouse than you would be without him. If you've felt this, you're not alone, and you're not selfish for wanting more than just shared space. Every woman deserves to feel emotionally connected, not just legally bound. Because marriage isn't about simply staying together. It's about staying close. Resentment in a long-term marriage doesn't appear overnight. It builds slowly, quietly, in the spaces where understanding used to live. In the unspoken moments where needs went unmet. In the everyday sacrifices that were never acknowledged. And in the emotional distance that crept in while no one was looking. The truth is, many women don't stop loving their husbands, they stop feeling loved in return. They stop feeling seen, heard, appreciated. And after decades of giving, adjusting, and holding the family together, they wake up one day and wonder, what about me? But here's what's important to remember. Resentment doesn't have to be the end of the story. In fact, it can be a powerful signal that something needs to change, not just for the marriage, but for your own well-being. It's never too late to ask for more. It's never too late to have honest conversations, to advocate for your emotional needs, or even to rediscover yourself. Some couples will choose to heal together, to rebuild connection and appreciation with time and effort. Others may find that growing separately is the healthier path. Either way, you are not alone in your feelings, and you are never too old to reclaim your voice, your joy, or your peace of mind. Your life experience, your love, your labor, they have all mattered, and they still do. So whether you're reflecting on your own journey or offering support to a friend in a similar place, know this: every woman deserves to feel valued, respected, and emotionally fulfilled, not just in her younger years, but always. Because love isn't just about staying, it's about showing up. You deserve nothing less. If something in today's video made you nod, smile, or think twice about yourself in a good way, let us know. Which of these signs felt familiar? Drop a comment below and share your experience. I read every single one, and your story could truly encourage someone else watching. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and tap the bell so you don't miss future content made just for men like you. Thanks for watching, and remember, your best years might just be the ones you're living right now.